maybe I would like to work for like Typeform, but I didn't think it was going to be a big thing.
When did you realize it was a big thing?
For those who aren't going to quit their job anytime soon, they want to focus more on SEO. What is like the number one thing that they should keep in mind?
One day I had to go to the finance team and say, hey, can you pay us 100K invoice? That got us nothing.
It's really easy to feedback someone else's marketing efforts.
What's a controversial opinion that you have?
I'm not going to name the name because I'm not going to name and shame.
Because they think AI can just do the job of a marketing team, which I think is stupid.
All right, so we're back for another episode of the Yet to Be Named podcast by the Growth Syndicate. We're going to be asking our guests for inputs. Today we have Jake Stainer. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And maybe a quick background on Jake, and then we're going to dive a little bit into his story. I'm joined here by Jolene as my co-host today. Jake is the co-founder of Skale. Skale is, if you ask us, one of the leading B2B SaaS-focused SEO agencies in the world. He was formerly the head of growth of companies like Typeform and Travelperk. He was an advisor to Hotjar, amongst other companies, and he's founded and worked on several ventures along the way. It's great to have you. And to get started, first question is, how did you get here? And I don't mean this podcast studio. I mean, tell us a little bit about your story. Let's say your origin story. How did you get to where you are today?
Okay. It's a very good question. It's a long story, maybe. So I guess it started when I was maybe like 11. Actually, before then, like when I was 10, I wanted to be the UK's youngest novel writer. This is a strange story.
Nice.
Okay. But then one day I discovered the world of the internet. So I was in forums, I was like just on the internet, sucked in, and then I wanted to build websites. So I said, why don't I try and create a website when I was like 11? And I was using a tool called Microsoft Front Page. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It goes way back.
Yeah.
But then I lost the serial key, so I couldn't actually use it anymore. So I had to learn to make websites in Notepad, if that makes sense. So I taught myself like HTML, CSS, and I was building websites in Notepad. Then I moved on to things like PHP, JavaScript, MySQL. I learned to make web apps. I was kind of building it when I was like 14, 15. And then the natural step was, how do I get people to use my web apps? Well, I have to learn online marketing, right? So I taught myself like SEO, PPC, these things. And I guess that's how I got into online marketing.
This is at 14.
Yeah, like 15, let's say 15, around 15. And it was difficult for Google Ads because it costs a lot of money. So I figured out that if you went on eBay in the UK, you get like a £50 Google Ads voucher for 99p. Because I don't know if they still do it, but when you bought magazines, you'd get like free coupons for Google Ads.
But I had those. I mean, I remember being on like EasyJet or something, and you just have a page in the EasyJet magazine, which is Google Ad vouchers. I've never had one that actually worked for me. Those actually worked?
I mean, some people used to go to like stores, go through all the vouchers, like take pictures of them and just like steal the codes. But
Wow.
and sell them on eBay. It was like a good business.
The good old days.
But that's how I got into Google Ads and SEO. Like I bought a book called SEO for Dummies way back, like 2008.
Like a real book.
Like yeah, like the real big fat book, SEO for Dummies, and I've taught myself SEO, but I could program. So I learned SEO through my own websites, programming, trying to build like stuff. That's kind of how I began.
And we're talking what kind of time frame here? 2000
and 8 and 9.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, people are going to be able to calculate your age from that, but that's pretty early days for SEO. I mean, there was stuff before that, but that's isn't this like the days of link farming and these kind of things?
Yeah. Like each website had like a page, and you'd say these like my links, and everyone would have just a page with links on.
Yeah, and you used to
add
just
each other.
comment on forums you post your links on forums. I remember those days.
Very different. Things have changed a lot.
Okay, so how did you go from there to getting into like the startup, scale up kind of world?
It's a funny story. Like how did I get into Typeform? Or I mean, before that, I did a gap year in Spain. So when I was 17, and I left home and lived in Spain for a year before going to like university, and I thought I would get a job as like an English teacher because what else was I gonna do? So I did like this TEFL course in like a weekend. I gave my CV to many language schools. I went to like an interview at one, and they said, "You can program and you can do marketing, so why don't you come program market our online English course?" So I did that for a year versus teaching English. So I never taught English. I thought I was, but I never
Well,
taught
sort
English.
of by building your own course.
So I did that as a job. That was back in 2010, 11 when these like Groupon was very big.
Oh, wow, Groupon, yeah.
Or in Spain, they had one called Grupalia, and I got the course on there, and it sold like 7,000 courses in 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
We thought it was like a scam because it was too good to be true. So we got on a train to Madrid from Barcelona, and we tried to find the offices, and we couldn't find them. So we thought it was a scam, but we did find them, and then it was real. But those websites have died since, right? They don't exist as we did previously.
No. Wow. And then how do you get from that to Typeform, which I'm guessing until this point, very unique story, picking up skills early age. And then, I mean, Typeform is probably one of those companies that every single person who's ever going to listen to this will be very familiar with.
So last year of university, I was looking to go back to Spain because I went to university in Wales. It was raining every day. It was very depressing. So I had to leave. And I was looking for jobs, applying for jobs online. And I thought one day, why don't I put on LinkedIn as a joke? I'm looking for a job. Can anyone help me? As a joke. And then the director of marketing from Grupalia, which is like Groupon in Spain, who I met in Madrid that time, she commented and said, I know someone who's looking for talented people. And she made me an introduction to the co-founder of Typeform.
Wow.
So because I met them in Madrid, and then I put something on LinkedIn because I had that connection and she knew people, I had an introduction to the co-founder of Typeform. But I thought Typeform was like a crappy form company. And I was only going to be there for 6 months,
Wow. How big were they at this point?
like 20 people,
Okay. Wow. So this is really,
15, 20 people.
wow.
Um, so I interviewed there. They said, we're not looking for another performance marketer, they called it. But maybe we can have one more person because like stuff about like subscription models because I was doing like that online course for that language school, and other things that I was doing at the time as well, like different websites and things. So I decided to meet them in London. They had like a jobs fair, so I tried to get a train from Wales to London. It was very difficult because the train broke down. And then I met the co-founder in person and said, "Yeah, I would like to work for like Typeform," but I didn't think it was going to be a big thing. I had no idea. I thought it was like this little form thing, and I was
When
like,
did you realize it was a big thing?
when I joined, yeah,
Okay. Right away, like early on.
after like maybe a few weeks,
Okay.
I joined, and then they had like a celebration of 1 million ARR, like a few weeks after I joined, with like champagne and stuff.
Oh, wow. So you had impact really fast then.
I mean, it was growing fast through the viral loop, right? I joined, and in week one, what they did is they did like I guess a growth hack, you could call it, which was the end screen of the Typeform that they called the thank you screen. They made it branded,
Hmm.
and that made the viral loop go crazy
Right.
because it was just like the little text in like the footer, but then they made the whole screen at the end branded, like create your own Typeform. Then the graph went like crazy.
Oh, wow. Okay. Very nice. Very nice. So what was it like? And we're going to get to kind of what you're doing today. So you were at Typeform. What was it like going through that period of kind of rapid growth? I mean, I remember, I think around that time, not around the time I came to Amsterdam, I remember Typeform at the time was one of those companies that you could
Okay.
point to and go, this, they're doing cool shit. It's harder to point those kind of companies out today. Back then, you had companies like Typeform, Hotjar, pretty much all of which you've worked for or with in some capacity. So, what was it like kind of going through that journey?
Scaling up is difficult. I guess going from 20 people to 300 people, it's not easy. Like there's people like the company, it's tricky because the company hired many not super experienced people to lead the teams because you have low budgets in the beginning. You make a lot of mistakes, you don't know what you're doing, and a lot of things happen.
Sounds very familiar.
I guess happens in every company, even Typeform, where it grew very fast. Like in the beginning, we were very focused on, I was focusing on like product growth stuff. So how can we measure the viral loop and speed it up and increase like the K factor? And then they said, you have skills in SEO and other stuff, so why don't you do that as well? So I kind of moved more into like growth marketing stuff, but began in more product growth stuff.
Okay, nice. So you actually moved from the product side a little bit more towards the marketing side. I mean, I think those lines are blurred anyways. We just posted an
Okay.
article about this, how like those lines are pretty blurry.
I mean, why do you think they're blurry?
Well, personally, I think because there's this massive overlap and there's this whole category of things that companies can't quite decide, is that product or is it marketing? Because it's probably its own thing or a bit of both. It sits somewhere in between.
I guess that's the definition of growth when it's both.
Exactly.
But I mean, like a marketing channel like SEO PPC is marketing.
Yeah.
But if you use the product with viral loops and referral loops, I guess that's a product. I guess that's an easy
Yeah,
distinction.
you
But
could
if you do
distinct that.
both, then you say I'm a growth person.
Exactly. Exactly. Nice. And so you did the type of what were kind of the for you personally? So you obviously you grew into the role of kind of head of growth, or the head of growth and demand gen, correct?
I mean, what's the difference?
I don't know. I looked. The difference is I looked at your LinkedIn, and that's the title that you had. So
Yeah, I mean, I started like as an individual contributor
yeah, and then you moved up.
and then moved up as it scaled. Grew very fast. There
What
was no marketing team, and then suddenly there was a marketing team.
what was your biggest challenge in that entire time?
Not having any developers, as a lot of marketing people can relate to.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. How can a company like Typeform, who had 20 million in the bank they raised, not be able to solve a simple problem of not having a developer for the website?
And why do you think that is?
Politics, company politics. I think it's tricky because in SaaS the developers want to work on the SaaS.
Yeah.
They don't want to like it was like a WordPress website. So WordPress for developers considered very junior and
Yeah. Yeah.
inferior.
Basic. Yeah.
So it's not cool. If you're a developer doing WordPress stuff, you're just not the cool developer. So the only solution for SaaS brands and websites is probably to use an agency to do things for the website
Takes
because
forever though.
with agencies,
Well, if you get an agency to work on your website, and you need to change something very quickly if you want to run an experiment, then my experience is that like you want to change something now because you see the experiment is not working. You might want to dev something through your website, and then you need to go to the agency and brief them, and they need to change it. And
I'm biased because I was a developer before I was a marketer. So I'm always going to say it's easy. Like it doesn't matter. It's programming. But from people who, I guess you can't program.
I
So
can't program.
I guess from the other point of view, it's like a pain to
Yeah.
do that, and it seems like a lot of work.
No, it takes a lot of time to contact the agency, align, instead of having somebody in-house who just changes it.
You'd have to call them something different, like growth engineer or something, and
Yeah.
make it sound cool. Or if they don't want to work on a WordPress tech stack,
Yeah.
they have like a headless CMS or something to make it more interesting. But what I found is sooner or later, every developer in the marketing team gets stolen from the product team. There's a lot of like politics involved. They get stolen, or they make the business case. Product should look at the whole customer journey from the start to the finish. And there's the internal battle of who owns the sign up page. Because the marketers want to impact the sign up page, but then it's in the product team. But then it's crazy. It doesn't fit into any like product like team at all.
Mm. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I think that challenge is something I can relate to as well. I think um, there are companies where we had almost no where basically as marketing it's like, oh yeah, we'll ask one of the developers and the dev team to dedicate half a day to marketing stuff, and then it almost never happens.
It's crazy. There
Yeah.
should be a course on how to like navigate this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Stakeholder management for dummies.
Yeah, for stakeholder management for marketing teams with no developers. That would get many signups.
I think it still comes down to the fact that I mean we just wrote about this, that most companies still don't agree on what is growth. I mean, there's so many different kind of definitions. People have opinions. Some people will die on the hill of it has to live in product and only product. Some people will say it has to be a marketing thing. Most will agree there's an overlap there, but I think that ambiguity also doesn't help, right? Because I think I've definitely worked in organizations where, as a marketing team, you're expected to do certain things, and those things don't include needing a developer. At least from a stakeholder perspective, often that's kind of the perception, and then convincing them, okay, how do I get this developer? How do we get these capacity? I mean, at least you could do it yourself a little bit to an extent, right?
I mean, I didn't have access to the code base.
Okay, that's another problem.
Like I didn't have access to stuff. So what was really good or dumb, I don't know, is I wanted to localize the website to Spanish. to do localization
Yeah.
as like a growth thing, and there's no developers. So I knew the guy who got stolen from Into Product, and the deal was he was going to work as a freelancer for Typeform and get paid outside of his salary to do what I needed for the website
Okay.
through the marketing budget, which is crazy, right?
Yeah. Insane.
It's all the
Couldn't
same
get
budget and
someone
whatnot.
like couldn't get someone like it's crazy. That's how I could localize the website. I had to hustle that
Yeah.
far.
Yeah. That's funny. I mean, I think that's a topic that doesn't get talked about almost ever. I haven't heard a lot of conversations about how hard is it to get developers, but I think
But
every
it's a
single
pain though.
I
If I think
felt it.
about it,
Yeah.
yeah, I felt it too,
I don't
always.
know. Is Webflow the solution? I don't know.
You always need somebody who's gonna do the technical stuff at the end of the day. But yeah, I think in your case it's different. Of course, you come from a technical background, but a lot of growth people don't come from the same technical background. And I think even if you do, you get to a
Okay.
point where probably it's not worth your time working in the tech if you have 50 other
Yeah, of
responsibilities and
course,
growth.
of
So
course. I think the solution is to be a rebel and ask for forgiveness, not the permission, right?
just hire someone.
Just go and find some
Upwork.
free. Just say they're hired.
Yeah.
Give me access to the code base because we've got stuff to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the way.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. So let's fast forward. You Typeform, and then you went on to work for Travelperk.
Yes.
This is around the time I first became aware of you because there was a point where I was in talks with Travelperk as well. Shortly before,
Okay.
I did not want to move, which in today's world doesn't even seem like a thing. But then, I did not want to leave Amsterdam, so
Okay.
that nipped the whole process in the bud pretty early. But that's when I became aware of you because, and I knew I'd seen you around like from the Typeform sphere kind of things. I'd seen some
Okay.
things online. Then you joined Travelperk, and I was like, oh, cool. I remember thinking actually, oh wow, okay, that's who I would have been up against. I'm good that I dropped out early.
Easy. Easy.
What was that like? I mean, because that's quite a big change in terms of kind of business model, industry specificity. Like you're going from Typeform, which was kind of a tool that everyone could use with PLG, low barrier to entry, to Travelperk, which is, I'm guessing, aimed at slightly bigger organizations and very specific. And I don't know if did you leave before COVID?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So I'm not going to ask you how that was,
I'll
what
tell
that
you in
was
a
like.
minute what happened.
But yeah, tell me how that transition was. And yeah,
So I joined Travelperk to learn about like the sales SaaS model, B2B, like the true B2B one, because Typeform in the end was B2C, like the type of marketing was B2C. Like I was looking at all the numbers and going, look, I've got thousands of signups every day. How cool.
yeah,
I reached 1,000 signups per day from SEO, and that was like a huge achievement, to refresh the graph and say I'm getting 30,000 signups from like non-branded SEO, like exclude the homepage, obviously. Um, so then the change from Travelperk was to learn how do you do demand gen or how do you do marketing for like sales organizations. So like 100-person sales team and you have to feed them. But back then, I guess we'll get into it in a minute, there wasn't so much education on the whole demand gen versus lead gen thing.
then or now? How much has that changed?
Well, there was less then for sure. So
I think we still have a couple of ways to go, but yeah,
but
definitely.
like it was tricky to go from Typeform where I was looking at it was like a numbers game, and it was a numbers game, to Travelbook where it shouldn't have been a numbers game.
Yeah.
You have to look at every single lead or person and who are they, company size, role, etc. Typeform, I didn't even know who these people were.
Was that shift something that you knew going in, or was that something that, because I've definitely had that where I went from, let's say, more mid-market focus to enterprise, and you theoretically know, okay, this is a different ball game, but you still kind of go in with your regular kind of MO, and then you realize, oh wait, I really need to change things.
That's what happens.
Was
That's
that
what happened. Yeah,
was
yeah,
that
yeah.
how it was, or did you go in knowing exactly, okay, I need to completely shift kind of the way that I do things?
I had no idea.
Right.
Like I went to interview, they said SDR, and I didn't know what an SDR was.
Okay.
Like MQR, like what's MQR? I had no idea.
To be fair, most companies still like questionable what an SDR is and what an MQL is. I've seen a lot
Okay.
of definitions.
Or yeah,
Or there's a lot of disagreement on what the definition actually is
of which
of the MQL.
Or
should there
the
be
SDR.
MQRs?
How big was the team that you joined at Travelperk from a marketing perspective?
Maybe 10, 12 people. It was much smaller.
How was how was it going from a situation in Typeform? I mean, the particularities of the business model aside, going from a team where you were kind of there and saw the team grow around you and helped kind of grow that, kind of drive that team, to adopting a team or a team adopting you. What were the kind of challenges you saw? Because that can be hard sometimes.
I mean, that was another reason why I joined. I said, could I join a company and lead another team, or am I just like a one-trick pony at Typeform? So I kind of moved companies to also kind of know what the answer was to that question, But I guess I mean, they knew more than me, obviously, because they'd been there for many years at Travelperk. So I was learning from them. They weren't learning from me in the beginning.
Yeah.
So that dynamic was different. At Typeform, I had acquired the knowledge over 4 years, like slowly, But Travelperk, I had to learn everything in a week, what people had known for 3 years. So it was a big challenge to learn like the business model, like everything.
But you could also bring a fresh perspective, right? That's also one of the things that you see quite often is, you have these things that everybody's aware of in a team. You're in it. You
Yeah,
know that, oh, the website needs to be changed, or this copy is not so good, or this is broken. And then somebody comes in with a fresh perspective, and it's really easy to feedback someone else's marketing efforts, because there's just things that you get to that tunnel vision. You're in the trenches, and there's some really low hanging fruit that just sometimes you're aware of, but you don't touch them because you're so in the motions.
yeah. Like I came in and changed many things. Like I fired the SEO agency. They sucked. I mean, didn't focus on any business metrics at all. Get some clicks. So what? Um, a lot of things were broken. So like the marketing ops side of things was a mess, and in every company it's a mess. That's
Yeah,
probably the truth.
That's very true.
There was
yeah,
like the demo page for Travelperk was an unbounced landing page, which through Zapier connected into Salesforce.
okay.
So they were like,
Interesting combination.
isn't very
You're
interesting.
using Salesforce. You're at the level of using Salesforce, but you're still using Unbounce. Nice. Does that even exist anymore?
I don't
I'm
know.
sure I think
Wow.
it exists in every company.
Yeah. No, I mean Unbounce in particular.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't.
it
I
still
don't. It
exists. It
still
still
exists.
exists. Still
I used
exists.
it a lot on
Yeah,
the
back in the
past.
day. Yeah.
But Zapier kept breaking, so there was like 30 demo requests stuck in Zapier that never got into Salesforce. Because I hit my OKR goals by just fixing Zapier connection.
Nice. But that's
That's
also
what I
That's
did.
low hanging fruit there.
That's very low hanging fruit. So if anyone uses Zapier, they should check, is there anything in my Zapier? Because sometimes it breaks and it's just in Zapier and you just don't know.
amazing. But that's also nice. You just walk in there, change the Zapier connection, and bam, target hit. That's pretty chill.
And then I guess attribution, people thought like the website was a channel, a webinar's a channel.
Mm.
Where did they come from? From the webinar? I was like, what does that mean?
How do you get to the webinar?
In
Okay.
Salesforce, just said website, webinar, PPC, because there's UTM tags.
Yeah.
That was the attribution.
I mean, I think this is also the thing that people, I think, underestimate when they're not in a kind of marketing or growth or demand gen lead role, is just the little shit that you need to deal with that actually can make quite a substantial difference. I think, when you hear the stories, it's all about, oh, we had this genius rebrand and we had this like that, we had just this insight that nobody else figured out. But actually, of course, on the product side, there are game changing features. You talked about Typeform rebranding the end page there, but a lot of it is just, you know, do I know where these people are coming from? Do I understand
Do I target the right people?
how do I get more of them? Does this A/B integration work? It's funny how much actually um,
Almost
comes.
feels like admin a little
Yeah,
bit.
like
I
how
mean,
important
that
the
is the
operations
truth.
actually are.
It's the truth.
Yeah, yeah, because people have this idea, of course, that it's all about strategy and operations. You can figure that out later.
It's not as complicated as people think.
No.
There's a lot of marketing basics that people just aren't doing
Yeah.
because they're too busy chasing the next shiny thing
Yeah.
or growth hack.
There. Yeah. Oh, let's not talk about growth hacks. We'd be here all day. All right. So after this, I mean, I know there were some things in between. I'm going to fast forward a bit. At some point, you decide, I'm going to become an entrepreneur. I'm going to leave the full time role kind of situation, and I'm going to start my own company. I know you have a couple of other things that you've worked on, but I want to focus on Scale in particular. What made you decide to leave, to become an entrepreneur? Number one, and number two, to start an SEO agency,
No, it was not an agency.
to start what would potentially become an SEO agency?
Okay, okay, let me explain. So I was always kind of confused. Should I build my own businesses, or should I try and move up the career ladder and go director, VP, CMO,
Mhm.
that kind of thing? And I was unsure for like many years. And then one day, I probably woke up, or some point in the day, I decided I want to do the business thing. I don't want to go up the whole career ladder thing, you know. So then I gave myself that clarity, and when I had that, I said, I need to like build some type of business. And I said, why don't I, having a co-founder is probably a good idea because these big brands out there, you know, most of them have co-founders, whether it's like Apple or Microsoft, etc. So I I decided to find out with who's my co-founder of the agency. um, and we tried different business ideas, and the one that stuck was what became the agency,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
And what
Okay.
was it? What was the idea?
One idea was like this SEO tool that I tried to build myself in Amazon Web Services, and my code kind of went wrong and charged me $500 in like 2 minutes. You know, it was going to be the first SEO tool that actually integrated with your business metrics, because tools like SEMrush and Ahrefs, they don't integrate with your business metrics. And nothing still exists to this day which integrates with your business metrics in SEO,
So why did you decide not to pursue that?
because it would take much longer to kind of leave my job if I'm building a product, and I didn't have like the resources to actually build it properly,
Right.
if that makes sense. And the other one was kind of the agent, what became the agency was flying. So I decided to go to the thing that was kind of like taking
So
off.
what was this at the time? Were you consulting? Were you doing interim? What did it look like at the time? What I know, because we talked about this behind the scenes, that we proudly describe ourselves as not an agency. You said you did that for 2 years until you had to admit that you do have an agency. We'll check in 2 years and see where we're at. But what did this look like at the phase where you were still thinking this is not going to be an agency? What was the proposition? What was the thing?
So when I was at Typeform scaling up SEO, one big pain was how to acquire links predictably and at scale. And I tried like an agency, but it's more like digital PR stuff. But I'd already proven that if you get links to pages you want to rank, that's how you get them to rank higher. And the digital PR would get links to a page that we didn't want to rank. So that wasn't going to work. Um, had an intern to link building. He got bored after 5 months and said, I don't want to do this anymore. And worked with like an agency that did link building, and the links were kind of crappy. They weren't relevant. They didn't understand SaaS. They didn't, you know, it wasn't relevant. And at the end of the month, they gave us like a spreadsheet and said, here's your links, go and figure it out.
Yeah.
So I said, I can do this better. And I knew there was a pain. So I said, why don't I help SaaS brands? Why don't I build what I didn't have
Mm.
and help other SaaS brands scale up SEO with this? And I thought it was like a simple business model with like link building. And, you know, so the idea was that we'd do like topically relevant links on real websites, and would measure the metrics like how are we getting more signups or MRR, and put like a ROI value on the link building efforts versus just a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
You get the links, but then you also get the analysis and data crunching, and also like data modeling around which pages, like an ICE model,
Mm.
like where can you get the impact for the least amount of links.
Mhm.
You know, the agency didn't do that previously. We just gave them the targets. You know,
Yeah.
so I decided to build something which didn't exist.
Okay. So this could have become, I guess, a tool,
I mean, it's
or
hard to do link building. I mean,
you can't automate the whole
you
thing.
can't automate the whole
No.
link building thing.
But
That's
there's a
why,
process. So it's basically a process that you guys have in-house that allows you
yeah,
to deliver super high quality links that actually drive impact,
mm,
to communicate what that impact is, what the ROI is. And then the agency services are basically that's the customer facing layer where
yes,
clients come in and you guys do
yeah,
that
yeah,
work
yeah.
for them.
But I said I'm like a SaaS link building service
Yeah.
or something. I called it.
Yeah.
I just didn't call it an agency
Yeah.
because I didn't like agency.
Yeah.
I don't like agencies.
Yeah.
Those suck
Yeah. No,
bad.
that's true. That's true. Okay.
Do
Yes.
you,
Because sorry, go for it.
do you still have an idea of like building something in the future, like more because you said you want to connect it to business metrics, like some form of a dashboard or an integration? I know the link building part you can't really completely automate and put into a tool or product, but maybe something around
Something.
the showing the value of those links in a more like dashboardy, producty way.
I mean, we do more than just links now because people were like, "Hey, can you do this? Can you do that?" But I guess most agencies do everything very badly. So so we said, how can we do as few things as possible very well? So we're very careful about not doing too many things and kind of rejecting people and saying we can't do this, we can't do that, or go and speak to that person. So like over time we added on like SEO strategy and execution from like technical SEO, on page SEO, the strategy and the planning. And then 1 year ago we added on like content creation. So we can do everything, but just not the dev stuff. Which I guess is ironic based on conversation. If no marketing as developers, how are they going to do execute on SEO? But now we do like all of these different things. So I think we're still trying to have like a big focus. That's why we haven't done the SaaS tool yet. Like we spoke to another agency who did try and make a SaaS tool, but we lost focus. They put a lot of money in there. The team kind of
Mm,
tripped up, and we said let's try and avoid this as much as possible and try and keep it simple and have that big focus, and that's going to be the recipe for success. But at some point, I think it will make sense to do some type of tool,
mm. Nice.
or there are like SaaS. There's SaaS they're adding on professional services, and professional services adding on SaaS. If that makes sense,
Yes, makes a lot
because
of sense.
professional service probably isn't self-serve. But if you can add the self-serve element, then you can probably do more marketing stuff and increase your ROI. And if you're a SaaS, you can add on the professional services to kind of recuperate your investment in marketing faster. So both sides work.
Yeah, no, makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. And one of the things that stood out to me when you started Scale was that you guys focused primarily on B2B SaaS companies.
Yes.
And I mean, I was going to ask you what was behind that decision, but I'm assuming, your background is in
My
B2B
background in
SaaS.
SaaS and my huge network of SaaS people, because at Typeform, I mean, people stay around like 3 years, I guess, on average. So everyone knew that Typeform had left, and they were like CMOs, VPs at other SaaS brands.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus, I can imagine also what I've noticed as well, especially in the SaaS, there's a gap. And that gap is slowly now being filled with people who are in, but it's still like if you compare it to B2C or e-commerce,
Mm.
it's a market that's like that's underserved, especially with regards to good agencies, or even if we don't want to call ourselves an agency, but like good professional services that do SEO or even like paid or content, or it's just a different ballgame, as you said, with your example with shifting away from Typeform.
Most agencies suck because the founder made it for the wrong reasons. I think a lot of agencies are founded by people who just want to have a business or make money, and then they hire people to try and run an agency. But the trend now is people like us are creating professional services, and we're creating it for the right reasons, and we have the expertise and knowledge. And I think that's what's changing the whole. Like
Yeah, and I think we come from the pain. We've experienced the pain of not doing it well, or somebody doing it for us that didn't do it well, and
we have
then
the traumas.
we have the trauma.
We can empathize and relate and create something which actually makes sense versus someone else would just kind of, I call them like a factory agency. They just deliver stuff for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one thing that really, like, one of the things that everybody says, if you want to start a business, niche down, focus. And that's one of the best things you can do. And that's one thing you know, to agree with that principle. Very few companies actually end up doing it. Last week we talked about how every company thinks they figured out their ICP, but then you go in and they're like, we serve these 12 different customers. And one of the things that I really noticed with you guys was you were so unapologetically on your homepage for B2B SaaS. And it was such I mean, this was a couple of years ago. I think it was, the SEO agency for B2B SaaS companies. And I think that for me really stood out as a B2B SaaS founder, which I was at the time. I was like, this is so strong because everyone has worked with that SEO agency that just did exactly what you said, shipped that massive spreadsheet of links of, I don't know, ethiopiatoday.com for your B2B SaaS. And nothing against ethiopiatoday.com. Maybe maybe I misremember the name, but not really necessarily relevant. And a lot of links that have high DA, but what is this about, and why is this relevant, and how many backlinks does it currently, how many companies is it currently, or sites is it currently linked to? And just seeing a company that just focuses on your niche is so much more powerful, because you then see the logos and you say, whoever did it for that company, I want them to do it for me. And I think that
Yeah,
niche
of
can be really
course.
powerful.
I mean, I said, how can you be the best in the world at something? You have to pick the niche and pick the market, and people want to work with the best. So kind of made sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So conscious of the time, we got a couple more sections coming up. There were just two things I wanted to touch into briefly. One was, you made that decision and you said you had the choice. Could you climb the ladder further, VP, and so on and so forth, or could you become an entrepreneur? You chose the latter. I chose the latter. Jolene chose the latter. Clement chose the latter.
I chose it a bit later
Yeah,
though.
but you still
Yeah.
chose it eventually. Um,
I did go onto that road and then I was like, no.
the point I'm getting at is, there was a time about 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago when I was really happy with my job, and people would reach out to me and say, "Oh, do you know anybody who'd make a good head of growth? Do you know anybody who'd be anyone you'd recommend for this role I'm hiring for?" And back then, I had this pool of people that I just knew were good and that I would just recommend. Um, and I've realized in the last year, I can't recommend those people anymore, because every single one of them, without a single exception, has gone on to become an entrepreneur. Not,
Okay.
oh, they're at a happy job and it'll cost you a lot of money and a lot of convincing to get them. Nope, it's like they're doing their own thing and they're happy. What would you recommend? I mean, first of all, if you have any thoughts on why that is, please. And what would you suggest to marketers listening right now who are thinking about going solo? What is something that they should be aware of? What is some tip you can give them? What is your view on this in general? I know this is kind of a vaguely phrased
That's
question,
a
but
big question. No, I'm thinking because when I quit my job 2 weeks later, there was lockdown and COVID, and we lost half our revenue. So it was kind of a rough time to quit my job, you know. But I mean, I guess it depends why they want to leave their jobs and what they want to do. You know, because I want to leave because I want to build a business. But if you just want to do consulting, I think that's different, right? You know, if you just want to be a freelancer and make more money because you think you can have like 5 clients instead of working for one business, that's different to saying how I want to create a company and try and take over the world.
yeah. And for those who want to try and take over the world, what would be a kind of your biggest tip from the last couple of years going down this journey yourself? What is your biggest takeaway? What is something that you wish you could tell yourself when you just quit your job?
um, was all gonna be okay. I don't know. Like, it's if I could go back, I would have taken more risks in terms of hiring people sooner or reinvesting the profits. I guess if you quit your job for the first time, you are more risk adverse because if it doesn't work out, then what are you going to do to pay the bills, right? So you're more risk adverse on purpose because you don't want this to happen. But if I'd known the outcome, then you could have saved a lot of maybe stress or time or feel like 15 hours a day by hiring people or delegating things, getting freelancers. But that's like the tricky beginnings. I think that's the hardest part, you know, because you don't want to risk all the cash you have.
Yeah,
If something bad happens, what are you going to do? But at the same time, how can you grow your business if you're not doing that? So I think that's the tricky balance in the beginning.
very good. And then, because we have marketers listening, and they won't forgive me if I don't ask, for those who aren't going to quit their job anytime soon and they want to focus more on SEO, what is like the number one thing that they should keep in mind?
A lot of people think SEO is the free channel. You know, like people have this conception that paid is paid and SEO is free. You know, so
It's so not free.
Google Ads has like, I don't know, 100K per month budget, and SEO gets $100 per month. You know, or like find some SEO person on Upwork, or just do the link building yourself. It's easy. You know, but I think first, like what you should do is kind of educate people that it's not the free channel, that you are building a channel. To build any channel in marketing, it costs money, and you need to do it properly. So it's not like this free channel. I think that's step number one. You know, to have like that awareness. And building links is a lot of work. creating the content is a lot of work. And now with like ChatGPT and AI and stuff, you have to create even better content. You can't just use some €100 freelance writer and publish it on your blog anymore.
No.
So it's very difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. I think it's a very
So
good tip as
true.
well.
But I guess a tip would be that's my biggest tip. Like it does require like an investment.
Treat it like a paid channel.
Or just
I mean, it has a much better
or just
ROI at
any
the end of
other
the day.
channel.
If you give 100K to Google, give 100K to agencies or freelancers or designers or writers. Because if you turn, people know, like people living in denial that they know that if they turn off Google Ads tomorrow, they won't get anything. But if they do other channels that compound, more of an investment, they will get things tomorrow. But I guess it's people just like investors or CEOs, they want the quick, they want the quick transactions tomorrow.
The tangible stuff.
Doesn't it all start with just creating good content
Yes.
for every channel?
Yeah.
Yes. But that requires effort, and I think most
And
people
money.
and money.
Yes.
Yeah.
But a lot of people they don't want to put in the effort or put
Or
in
the
the
money.
money. Like we're doing this podcast in person, and that's putting in effort and putting in the money. Most people don't want to do that.
Yeah.
They want the quick win on Zoom or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
So, speaking of time,
Yes.
what we're going to do now is we got a couple of questions that we want to ask all our guests. Short form. They're not rapid fire. They're short form. I think you can pull them up. Makes sense for you to ask them. Doesn't have to be rapid fire, but relatively short form. We just got to. This is we want to ask everybody, and the idea is in the future one day to go. Oh, this is what different people have said.
Cool. Yes. Let's start with the first one. What's a controversial opinion that you have? And not about your let's specify that a little bit, like around the space that you're currently in, not about your political opinions or these kind of things, because we don't want to make this political, but more around like anything within marketing or within in the growth space that you're like, oh, I'm different than the mainstream.
Okay. No, I said at an event like many years ago, and people didn't get it. But I said everyone should delete their blog, and it shouldn't exist.
Ooh, you need to explain that a little bit more.
So the way SEOs work, like Google ranks topics, not pages and keywords. So the idea is that instead of like the blog was made many years ago, like it stands for like weblog, and you just cut out the W and an E in as blog, but it's just a collection of random stuff. And because Google ranks for topics, like the whole topic clustering kind of thing, it's better to structure your website like this versus just putting things on the blog. Like if you go to like a library or bookshop and you just have random stuff everywhere, it doesn't make any sense. And that is a blog. So I think you should have like topic hubs for like SEO stuff, and then you have like you can have your news section, your product update site, like section or cool campaigns. But why have a blog? It doesn't make any sense. So
Cool.
people should delete their blog tomorrow or
Kill your
today.
blogs.
Kill your blogs. I like that.
Nice.
If you look at your own career and everything you've done, what is your biggest / favorite fail or something you did but failed?
So at Travelperk, I spent 100K on LinkedIn ads doing lead gen with ebooks and got nothing. But
We've all been there.
the funnier thing is that we switched from, I think it was maybe credit card billing to invoicing or something with LinkedIn ads, but they forgot to send us the invoice. And one day I had to go to the finance team and say, hey, can you pay us 100K invoice? That got us nothing.
Awkward.
Because I thought ebooks was the thing to do. When I came from Typeform and I went to like a B2B companies, I thought ebooks is what you did. I thought the MQLs I thought the MQLs were like the thing.
MQL equals ebook.
Gated content in
Gated
general
content.
is a problematic
topic
topic.
that
Let's
we
not go into that one. But
my KPI, my KPI was pipeline, but we looked at MQLs, and then I thought, how do you get the MQL? Well,
yeah.
the wrong incentive.
Well, I think I've definitely been there as well. Not with 100K, but definitely with spending money on ebooks that didn't convert.
We even interviewed someone from Booking.com who did the B2B business travel stuff, and even he was doing ebooks on LinkedIn ads.
But everyone was doing it. Doesn't mean it works though. Usually when everyone's doing
it can work, but
I haven't seen ebooks for a while. I don't know if you've seen ebooks on LinkedIn.
depends on the industry.
Oh yeah, you get them.
In the fintech industry, it's quite common to still for banks to use any form of gated content. They love it.
Yeah.
But I don't like it. Okay. Who do you learn from the most?
Maybe to caveat this, can be someone you know personally, can be an influencer you follow, can be maybe not
Anything.
even a person, but
Mm.
I mean, I wouldn't say there's one person. I would say I've learned from speaking to like many people. I think that's my biggest learning was just speaking to, like, I didn't learn through books and courses and
Except with
blog
the dummy
articles.
book.
Just for dummy. I mean, back then I had to go to like my local library to find books because there's nothing on the internet. Like nothing existed back in 2009. I was on a bicycle going to the library and finding books, asking them to get books for me. When I was at Typeform, I would like message people on LinkedIn and say, "Hey, let's try to network," and that's how I learned stuff. Like I messaged the who was the head of digital at Slack, and she said, "I love Typeform. Let's speak." And I learned loads of stuff from her. And we stay in contact to today. So I've learned through many people, speaking to people I haven't.
So the learning is not one person, but focus on many people at the same
Yeah,
time.
many people.
What is your favorite marketing growth tool for 2024?
we had to throw one of those in there.
I'm thinking.
You can interpret tool more broadly if that helps, by the way. It can also be personal, it can also be
Asana, some
personal,
other tool.
organization, whatever. What is something that you use that makes your life easier?
I mean, I'm using a tool called Todoist because just lists. I learned that if I use like Kanban and project management tools, I just wouldn't use it after a week. And I was always in,
This is a debate we have internally a
and
lot.
then I
Lists
would,
versus Kanbans.
and I would just use the notes app on my iPhone, and I would keep adding stuff. I'd either email myself stuff to do, or add it onto the iPhone Notes app. So what
I know someone who uses Slack to send himself
I Slack
messages.
myself. I have these schizophrenic conversations with myself over Slack, and that's my entire personal organization of everything.
but I kept trying to use like Trello or ClickUp or Asana to try and organize myself, but I'm not organized to that level. Like I'm organized when I have to be. I'm like an organized chaos.
Yep.
So I realized that lists were the way to go for me because I'm not super organized to that level of detail. So now Todoist is lists and it works.
Total vindication. Total vindication. We have this debate all the time. She's very organized.
Which you
Clément
both
somewhere in
are
between.
all very happy about, that I'm the only
Yeah,
one
it's
in
good
this
to have
company
someone who
that
does it.
is
It's good to have someone who
organized.
does it. But yeah, I totally appreciate that. We got anything else?
No, that's it.
No, we're good. Then let's go to our next section, which is kudos or facepalm. We say of the week, but could be of the whatever insert period of time. This is where we each kind of give a shout out to something that we think was really cool, and also call out a little bit of a facepalm, something that we see that we think is not cool. That yeah, it's not about naming and shaming. It's just about talking about the good and the bad.
Of course.
But you can name and shame as well.
Little bit.
Nothing wrong with that. No, but name and shame.
Ten.
Do you want to go first, or do you like one of us to go first?
I don't mind. I mean, kudos, I would say. So at Scale, we're kind of starting like this big demand gen conference. We want to create something to give back to the community and kind of create a lot of like buzz and get a lot of cool people together to share their knowledge and tips. So I guess kudos to probably Emma at Scale, who's kind of putting this together. It's like a lot of work to put together like a conference. And I'm thinking, why did we do this? Why didn't we just do some Zoom like one-off webinar things, but to put a conference together for like 2 days and like 7 hours each day, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I came to her
It's
with the idea.
different. It's the effort and money thing, I think.
Yeah, like I came to her with this idea. She said, why don't we do, I said, let's do a 3-day event. She said, why don't we do one day? I said, let's meet in the middle and do 2 days, so, but we're trying to do some high effort things. First, I decided to like ban paid ads. I said, you can't use paid ads to do marketing. You have to just do other stuff. You can't do paid ads, but sometimes the path of most resistance is the best path to take, which is interesting.
Nice.
Fits really well with your SEO background.
Yeah.
Most of the time, more effort, but in the end, if you do it well, pays
Yeah.
way better
For
than
some
any
reason,
paid activity.
I'm choosing that path a lot, so
Good.
see what happens.
Oh, it seems to be working out for you. A facepalm?
I would say one brand we're working with. I'm not going to name the name because I'm not going to name and shame. Was that they thought they knew who the ICP was, and they were telling us it's this ICP for 1 year. Finally, we say, hey, give us like the data. Let's dig into who's actually buying your product, and they're completely different people. So we wasted a whole year trying to create a SEO strategy around something which was fake. A lot of brands think they know who it is, or they create like a fancy Google Slides presentation and say, "This is our cool ICP because this is who we want to attract." But when you look who's actually buying, it's someone completely different. Same thing happened at Travelperk.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I've seen it so many times, especially like companies who want to sell to enterprise because they think there's the most money there, but their product is just not for enterprise or their funnel or their content. And then they keep on pushing their tool into enterprise. And then in the end, they're like, oh, but we can't actually solve their problem. So maybe we should focus on something else. It's, yeah,
People waste a lot of time doing this, right? They're kind of in
a lot of
denial
money.
because more enterprise you go, the more you become a professional service or an agency.
Yep,
It's two ends of the spectrum.
definitely. Yep.
Absolutely.
Cool.
You go. I've forgotten
Um,
mine. I need to refresh my brain.
I think my kudos goes to the sassiest. I think like they're very young. They are like not not in the Nordics, but more in Europe, and they've gone full out these last year and a half to put down their conference, but also create this community. And I think especially the community part, I'm very excited about. I think they're doing a great job. Plus, I really like that they're a bit controversial and like doing karaoke on stage, these kind of things. Actually, really like the slightly
Cool vibe.
different vibe to it.
Yeah. Coming to Amsterdam later this year, by the way.
Yes, they are. They're definitely. My face palm is it's not really a company, but I see a lot that companies, brands, leadership teams are scaling down their marketing team because they think AI can just do the job of a marketing team, which I think is stupid. I, 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 I love chat, but I use it as a I need to structure my thoughts and give me some structure into when I'm writing something or if I need information on something. It's replacing a little bit my Google search every now and then. But apart from that, like the quality of AI is only as good as the prompt you give it. So if you don't know how to prompt, it will never give you a good answer. And a good prompt comes from a good marketeer. So in my opinion, it can definitely be a tool that you use to make processes easier or smarter, but it should not replace your marketing team.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go in with kudos to kudos to us for launching our first podcast episode last week. I'm not going to get the opportunity to do that too often. Don't want to toot our own horn too much, but last week we set it up. It was a lot of fun. I mean, figuring this stuff out from the ground up makes me feel like the early days when I started in this field. So really enjoying, and we just got the first edit of the first episode, and it's looking surprisingly like professional and good. And, like we're really excited to be getting people like you, Jake, on board. And yeah, so that's one kudos. And then a face palm again. Not going to name names, but when you are talking to service providers or agencies, um, you got to respect their time. And what I mean by that is, we recently had a let's call him potentially a lead in the pipeline. Company founder reaches out to me and says, "Love your model, love the approach. We need this. Like we need this. We have a call, pretty much sold. Let's go ahead." I move things around to kind of prioritize a call with them because they're like, we want to move ahead fast. We're all good. We're just going to pull in my co-founder or pull in the CEO for another, just like to, checkbox exercise. And then we go. We get on a call with the CEO, half an hour conversation, lots of in detail questions. And then he goes, "This all sounds great, but I actually already hired an agency 2 weeks ago." And I'm like, we've just had like, first of all, how are you not talking between founders? And how are you gonna, it's great to catch up with people and talk and just to connect. Not, it doesn't have to be a sales call. It really doesn't. But if you come in saying, we want to move fast, we want this, and then you spend half an hour asking really detailed questions, only to then say, actually, we already hired someone. That's not cool. And I see this happening quite a lot with hiring individuals, where companies interview candidates that they don't want to hire just to get their ideas and get their input and kind of get a kind of a free consultancy session. I don't think this is what they were doing. I think this was a miscommunication, but it always surprises me how there's people out there that can be entrepreneurs, but then look at other people as not entrepreneurs, don't respect that they have time as well. So that was an interesting experience. Um,
That's sad.
yeah, it
No,
happened.
no, no. Like service providers, I think, are seen as inferior to people with other businesses, and it's kind of sad, but it's true.
That's what we're trying to change, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a reason because,
We'll
like you
change
said,
it.
a lot of agencies do suck, and a lot of service providers are short-sighted and pretty, but they still deserve respect and the time. But it happens. So if anyone out there, if you're running your business, you will have similar frustrations. There will always be that call, that demo, that presentation that's just painful. Um, okay, let us wrap up with a couple of rapid-fire questions. These are really yes, no, or either or questions. We'll go through. Jolene, up to you.
Cool. Yes, let's go. First one, SEMrush or Ahrefs?
Hrefs.
In-house or agency?
What agency? I have an agency. I'm good at this.
Not enough budget or not enough people?
I'm thinking. I'd say not enough budget.
Crappy product or crappy CEO?
Maybe crappy product. Like a good CEO could change it.
Brand or rankability?
Brand or wood.
Rankability, the ability to rank.
What does that mean?
With content, prioritize what's going to help you rank or prioritize what represents the brand.
I'd choose brand. It's controversial, maybe.
No, I agree.
Brand.
Demand gen or lead gen?
Or demand gen.
Is it more important to optimize for Google's algorithm updates or focus on providing value to users?
Or to the users, of course.
Broad keywords with high search volume or long tail keywords with lower
Long
competition?
tail ones.
Last one, optimizing existing content or creating new content?
Existing content.
Nice.
There we go. The SEO philosophy in a nutshell. Well, Jake, thank you very much for taking the time. We really appreciate it. It was a really nice conversation. Is there anything that you want to put out there? Anything you want to share with people? Can be a parting word, can be a plug for something you're working on. Please, floor is yours.
No, I guess if anyone wants like demand conf, like last week or like the week before, I hope they enjoyed it, got like a ton of value. I would say like if you have if you didn't go, then go to like demandconf.scale.so. There'll be like recordings, things that you can download, sign up, and there's more things in the pipeline throughout the year. So I'm not going to give too much away. We have some big things planned later in the year, so
Yeah,
sign up.
cool. Follow Jake. Follow Scale, scale.so. If I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, check them out. If you need help with your SEO, they're the ones to go to if you're in the B2B SaaS space. And yeah, thanks a lot, Jake. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. It was fun.